Most people think speaking up is power, but they are actually leaking their cognitive energy through constant reactive chatter. In a world that won't stop talking, your greatest weapon isn't your voice, it's your silence. Today, we are weaponizing the tactical pause to starve distractions and reclaim your mental sovereignty.
Listen to that. That's the average person's mind, right now, in this moment, while you're reading this. Notifications firing, thoughts racing, the sound of your own inner critic, the hum of things you're supposed to be doing, the echo of conversations from hours ago, the anxiety about tomorrow. Silence, actual silence, is becoming a luxury that most people can't afford. And here's what's tragic. The moment you stop experiencing silence, you stop being able to think clearly. The Stoic philosophers understood something profound about this. They understood that the most powerful people, the people with the most control over their lives, the people who accomplish the most meaningful work, are often the ones who practice the most intentional silence. Not silence as in being quiet, but silence as a discipline. Silence as a tool. Silence as a way to regain mastery over your own mind. In the next 30 minutes, I'm going to show you what that means, how to practice it, and why it's the most underrated skill in modern life. Let's go. Here's something most people don't want to admit. Your mind is not under your control. I know that sounds harsh. I know it sounds like I'm saying you don't have free will. That's not what I mean. What I mean is this: your mind has become a space where everyone else lives rent-free. Your boss lives in your mind, thinking about what they said, worrying about what they think. Social media algorithms live in your mind, trying to keep you engaged, triggering anxiety, pulling your attention in 1,000 directions. Other people's opinions live in your mind, their judgments, their criticisms, their imagined disappointment. Your past lives in your mind, replaying conversations, regretting decisions, torturing yourself with what-ifs. Your future lives in your mind, anxiety about what might happen, worst-case scenarios on repeat, the endless planning and worrying and what-ifing. And in all of that noise, all of that mental chaos, where is the actual you? Where is the part of you that wants to think clearly, that wants to create something meaningful, that wants to feel peace? It's buried. It's drowned out. It's been hijacked by everything and everyone else.
The Stoic philosophers understood something that we've completely forgotten in the modern world. They understood that the mind, your actual, clear, focused mind, is the only real estate worth protecting. Everything else is noise. And noise, if you let it persist long enough, destroys you.
There's a concept in Stoicism called prosoche. It's a Greek word, and it's hard to translate into English, but the closest meaning is mindful attention or intentional presence. But there's another layer to it that most people miss. Prosoche is also about the intentional silencing of noise, the deliberate creation of mental space, the disciplined practice of clearing away everything that's not essential. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in Rome, spent enormous amounts of time in silence. Not because he had nothing to do, he was the emperor. He had endless things demanding his attention. But he created pockets of silence anyway. He would journal, he would meditate, he would sit in stillness and deliberately quiet his mind. And in those moments of silence, something remarkable happened. He could actually think. He could consider his values. He could reflect on his decisions. He could access wisdom that was buried under the constant noise. Epictetus taught that the first step to freedom is to become aware of what's taking up space in your mind without your permission.
He said, some things are in your control, some things are not. In your control is your choice of what to think about, what to focus on, what to give your mental energy to. But here's the thing, you can't make that choice if your mind is full of noise. The silence, intentional, disciplined silence, is what clears the space so you can actually make that choice. I want to be very clear about something. This isn't about being antisocial. It's not about rejecting the world or other people. It's not about being a hermit. It's about recognizing that your mind is a finite resource. Your attention is limited. Your mental focus is precious. And if you don't intentionally protect that resource, everyone and everything else will use it up. So the practice of intentional silence is actually an act of self-respect. It's saying, my mind is mine, and I'm going to be very deliberate about what I allow into it.
Before we dive into how to practice this, I want to explain why this actually works, because understanding the mechanism is what makes the practice stick. When your mind is constantly receiving input, notifications, conversations, music, podcasts, thoughts, worries, your brain is in what neuroscientists call active mode. Your prefrontal cortex is engaged, you're processing, you're reacting, you're in survival mode. But there's another mode your brain can enter. It's called default mode, and it's where the real thinking happens.
In default mode, your brain isn't processing external input. Instead, it's integrating information. It's making connections between ideas. It's reflecting. It's solving problems that you haven't consciously worked on. This is where creativity comes from. This is where wisdom emerges. This is where you actually process your emotions and experiences. But default mode only activates when you create space for it, when there's silence, when there's intentionality. The modern world is designed to prevent you from ever entering default mode. Everything is designed to keep you in active mode, engaged, stimulated, reacting. Social media, news, work notifications, podcasts, even meditation apps that are trying to help you meditate are often just creating more stimulation. The Stoics didn't have a word for default mode, but they understood the principle. They understood that wisdom requires stillness, that clarity requires quiet, that focus requires the intentional removal of distraction. Here's what happens in your brain when you practice intentional silence. Your nervous system downregulates. You move from a state of fight or flight into a state of rest and digest. Your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for executive function, decision-making, and ethical reasoning, becomes more active. Your amygdala, the part that triggers fear and anxiety, becomes less active. Your default mode network activates, allowing for integration and wisdom. Stress hormones like cortisol decrease. Neurochemicals that promote calm and clarity like serotonin and GABA increase. In other words, silence literally rewires your brain toward clarity and peace. And this isn't a slow process. Studies show that even 10 minutes of intentional silence can produce measurable changes in brain activity. But here's the key. It has to be intentional. It can't just be boredom. It can't just be sitting in your phone-free time thinking anxious thoughts. It has to be a deliberate practice, a discipline, a choice to create space and protect it. That's where the Stoic principle comes in.
Okay, so you understand why this matters. You understand that your brain actually needs silence to function optimally. You understand that the Stoics practiced this as a discipline. So, how do you actually do it? Here's the framework. It's simple, but simple doesn't mean easy.
Step 1. Identify your noise. The first thing you need to do is become aware of what's actually taking up space in your mind without your permission. For most people, this is checking their phone first thing in the morning, scrolling social media throughout the day, listening to podcasts or music constantly, having background TV or news playing, internal thoughts about things you can't control, replaying conversations, worrying about the future. Make a list. What are the main sources of mental noise in your life? Don't judge yourself, just observe. Be honest.
Step 2. Protect a specific time for intentional silence. You need to create a container for this practice, a specific time of day, even 10 minutes. The best time is often first thing in the morning, before the noise of the day starts. But it could be during lunch, it could be before bed. The key is consistency. Marcus Aurelius would often journal early in the morning. That was his protected time. I recommend 10 to 30 minutes, completely phone-free. No podcasts, no music, no background noise, no multitasking. Just you and your mind.
Step 3. Do something intentional with the silence. This is the key. The silence isn't passive, it's active. Here are some options. You could journal. Write your thoughts without filtering. Let them flow onto the page. This is what Marcus Aurelius did. It allows your mind to process and organize thoughts. You could meditate. Simply observe your thoughts without engaging with them. Notice what comes up, then let it go. You could walk, in nature if possible. No phone, no headphones, just walking and observing. Let your mind wander where it wants to go. You could sit in contemplation. Reflect on a specific question. What matters most to me? What did I learn today? What am I afraid of? The point is, the silence is a space, and you're deliberately filling that space with your own intention, not with external noise. Step 4. Protect the space ruthlessly. This is where most people fail, because silence is uncomfortable, and the moment it gets uncomfortable, you want to fill it with noise. Your phone buzzes, you want to check it. Your mind gets restless, you want to turn on a podcast. Boredom appears, you want to do something productive. This is where discipline comes in. This is where you remember, this space is sacred. This is your mind. This is your focus. This is your freedom. Don't break it. Not for one more notification, not for one more scroll, not for the discomfort of sitting with yourself. Sit with it. Let it be uncomfortable. The discomfort is actually the noise leaving.
Step 5. Extend the practice gradually. Start with 10 minutes. That might feel like an eternity if you're not used to it. That's okay. Your capacity for silence is like a muscle. It grows with practice. After a week or two, extend to 15 minutes, then 20, then 30. Some days you might have longer periods of silence, a walk in the woods, a day offline, a retreat. Over time, you develop the capacity to access that quiet focus even in the midst of noise.
I want to tell you what happens when you actually commit to this practice. It's not dramatic. There's no moment where suddenly everything changes. But suddenly, persistently, things shift. Your mind becomes clearer. Not immediately, but after a few weeks, you notice that your thinking is sharper. You can hold complex ideas. You can solve problems that seemed unsolvable. Your anxiety decreases, not because the world becomes less chaotic, but because you're no longer adding to that chaos by keeping every external noise playing in your head constantly. Your focus improves dramatically. You can work on something for hours without distraction. Your productivity actually increases, not because you're working harder, but because you're working with a clear mind. Your relationships improve. When you're not constantly in your own head, replaying conversations or worrying about what people think, you can actually be present with people. You can listen. You can connect. Your creativity increases. All those ideas that have been buried under noise start to surface. You notice connections you didn't see before. You see possibilities. Your sense of peace deepens. Not a permanent peace. Life is still difficult, challenges still come, but you have access to an internal stillness that isn't dependent on external circumstances.
I want to tell you about someone I knew who practiced this. Her name was Jessica, and Jessica was a high-performing professional. She had a great job, she was successful by every external measure, but she was exhausted, constantly anxious. Her mind never stopped. She tried everything: more sleep, more exercise, more meditation apps, more therapy. But nothing stuck until she committed to intentional silence. She started small, 10 minutes every morning before checking her phone, just sitting, journaling, letting her mind settle.
After a week, she noticed she was less anxious. After 2 weeks, her thinking felt clearer. After a month, she felt like she had her mind back. What surprised her most was this: she didn't need the success as much as she thought she did. Once her mind was clear, she realized she'd been chasing achievement partly out of anxiety, partly because the noise in her mind made stillness feel impossible, so she was trying to fill the void with external accomplishment.
But with the silence, with her mind back under her control, the achievement mattered less. It was still important. She still did excellent work, but she did it from a place of clarity rather than desperation. And paradoxically, her work improved because she was more focused, more creative, more present. The silence gave her back her life.
This is what the Stoics understood. They understood that the first step to mastery over your life, your work, your relationships is mastery over your own mind. And the first step to mastery over your mind is to protect it, to create space for it, to practice intentional silence.
Here's what I want you to understand in closing. Your mind isn't lost. It's not broken. It's not incapable of focus or clarity or wisdom. It's just been hijacked by noise, by distraction, by everyone and everything else's demands for your attention. And that's not a character flaw. It's not a sign that you're weak or undisciplined. It's just what happens in a world designed to pull your focus away from yourself. But here's the good news. You can take it back.
Not through force, not through willpower or discipline in the harsh sense, but through the simple, profound practice of intentional silence. Through creating space, through protecting your mind the way you'd protect anything precious, through remembering that your focus, your clarity, your wisdom, these are the most valuable things you have. The Stoics didn't have smartphones. They didn't have social media. They didn't have the constant barrage of stimulation that we have. But they understood something about silence that we're only now rediscovering, that in silence, you find yourself. In silence, you regain control. In silence, you find the clarity to do meaningful work and live a meaningful life. So I want to challenge you. Tomorrow morning, before you check your phone, before you start your day, take 10 minutes.
Sit, breathe, journal, walk, meditate. Whatever form of intentional silence calls to you. Just 10 minutes of your mind being yours alone. See what happens. See what emerges when you stop filling every moment with noise.
See what you remember about yourself when the world finally gets quiet. Because that's where your focus lives. That's where your clarity comes from. That's where your mastery begins, in the silence. Your mind can return to you, but you have to invite it home. That's the Stoic art of intentional silence. That's how you master your mental focus today and every day after.